Hello everyone, welcome to Sentinel. Today I've got a very interesting incident that happened last week where Col Joseph Coughlin was relieved of command by the United States Air Force. He was the commander of the 557th Weather Wing. Now I didn't realize we had an entire wing that was dedicated to weather, but it turns out that this wing has about 1,400 personnel and is located in 19 different locations across the world. And the main reason for this is because, as you well know, weather is a very important function in military operations. So nonetheless, Col Joseph Coughlin was relieved because what happened was there was a domestic incident at Col Coughlin's house. His wife Amanda called the police, and the police arrested Col Coughlin and took him to jail. He spent 2 days in jail, he posted bond and was released, and then subsequently the Air Force relieved him of command. And what had happened was, and the entire case goes to the Sarpy County Attorney's Office, and they decide not to file charges because of lack of evidence and because of the fact that there's no witnesses, and his wife had been arrested previously for assaulting him. And then a few days later, his wife gets arrested for assaulting a police officer with bodily fluids, which essentially means she probably spit on the police officer or something of that nature. Nonetheless, the problem I have with this whole thing was, here's a colonel that was relieved, without due process, and the Air Force rushed to judgment and relieved him. So consequently, he wasn't guilty of anything. The Sarpy County Attorney's Office dropped all charges, and then the Air Force decides to use the Office of Special Investigation, their version of NCIS, and or the Army's CID, and starts investigating him again. And this tactic has been used in the military quite often. And what they typically do is to justify the relief, they'll start digging for stuff. As you well know what happened with Colonel Bianchi at West Point. It took him 15 months of being in legal limbo, and then finally he was only found guilty of not stopping at a stop sign. So the military does this. Once they relieve you, they'll proceed a judicial route and try to find something that you were guilty of under the UCMJ to justify the relief. And I think in this case, now I'm making an assumption here because we don't know all the facts right now, that in this case something of this nature may be going on. And unfortunately, we're not privy to all the information because of the privacy issues, so they'll never release the report. But it saddens me to see that a service member is treated like this, and that rather than protecting his rights, we rush to judgment and we relieve him. And the problem is, once you relieve him, you can't go back and reassign him to the same command because he's been tarnished. So this is a big issue, and unfortunately, we don't learn from our past lessons because it's not the first time it's happened. It's happened on many previous occasions, and it's something that the Air Force really needs to start paying attention to, just like the other services. We just can't keep throwing good people under the bus for things that may seem that they were guilty of, but until it goes to court and until the matter is adjudicated, we just can't rush to judgment and relieve them. Maybe a better alternative would have been to send him on leave, but they didn't do that. So they just fired him, and now there's no way they're going to rehire him. So this guy's career is basically destroyed. He joined the service in 2000, so he's got about 25 years of military service. Basically served in weather squadrons throughout his career, from 2010 to 2011. Served in Afghanistan, and then assumed command of the 557th Weather Wing in July 2024. And by all indications, he's a good officer. And it's sad to see that people are being treated like that, and they're being thrown under the bus and their careers destroyed, because we've got senior military leadership have the patience or the tolerance to just wait and see how things turn out, and give people benefit of the doubt, and uphold the constitutional values of innocent until proven guilty. It's really sad to see that this officer got caught up on a domestic issue, and it turned out so unfavorably for him. So I'd like to hear your comments on this, and before I leave, I just want to remind you to please hit a like, share, and subscribe. That's all I got. Stay rugged, stay united. Khan out.